Should you keep renting or buy a home this year? You just gotta do it scared. I have an interesting thought on this, where not only am I an investor with over a dozen properties in a portfolio, there was a time back then where I barely had coins to make my share of the rent, okay? We've come a long way, okay? A long way. But this experience is going to be important in deciding whether you should keep renting or if you're ready, jump in and buy that first home or rental property. Renting, honestly, to me, is a bit of a luxury. You're not responsible for maintenance and repairs, saving you time, money, a lot of headache. Sis, when I started in real estate investing, like every single little call, it came to me. So renting, you get to call someone like me to come take care of the problem for you. I have this one investor friend, and I always say everything that can happen to her happens to her. I don't know what she does to her houses, but she would call me the next day and be like, I was up all night long because pipes burst or whatever it might be. And I'm like, Lord, girl, what are you doing in your houses? But that is a level of headache that if you were to rent, you don't have to deal with it. When I lived in DC pre-pandemic, I was in a pretty small one-bedroom apartment, but it was city center. It was exciting. And I was paying a little over $2,000 just to live there. Today, I kind of took a little sneak peek on how much those one bedrooms are going for. Close to $3,000. Rents are skyrocketing like crazy. Even back then, I remember when I was there, they just like woke up one day and they said, we're going to be charging y'all for HVAC. Like, do we own this? No, but apparently it was legal to do that. They tagged on a few $100s a month and we were paying for the HVAC service or something. And that's the thing. You don't control the amount you're paying. You don't control your rent. Any minute on any fly, the owner, the property rental can come up with something that could be an expense that makes sense. But here's the thing, they pass it on to you and then you become responsible in being able to pay for it. So here we are living in an apartment, but yet we were paying for some fees that I'm just like, we're not owning this. We need to discuss this. But there are rules. If you don't like it, then you scoot out of there and find another one. And that's another plus about renting. You can pick up your bags and scoot out of there any minute, any moment. Heck, you can break your lease, pay for it, and get out of there. When the lease is over, you can find somewhere else. So if you're somebody that might not want to stay somewhere for a long time, renting could also be ideal for you. But I want to start changing your mindset about what it means to own a home. If you're part of the family here watching this channel, can you tell I'm excited? Like, we are over 100 family members in just such a short while. Like, yo, thank you. So you know what to do, click. Okay, if you're one of the family here, you've probably heard me talking about this idea of buying a residential multifamily at your first buy. But here's the thing, I know you, yes, you watching this, I know you're multi-talented. Maybe you have a side hustle, or maybe you're actually doing a side hustle right now. See, I told you, I knew you. You're a pretty little smart one. The reason I say that is because, like me, I didn't desire to stay in corporate for the long haul. After some unfortunate traumatic experiences of just being a Black woman in corporate America, I was like, oh, this is not my battle. This is not my battle. So buying a rental property has helped ease that responsibility off of me. It has allowed me to buy my time back. So if you are like me, growing up in America was a financial struggle. You've been able to get the degrees, you've been able to build yourself up some, and you're starting to kind of create a sense of comfort for yourself. Consider buying a rental property effective immediately. Because if you're somebody that might not also desire to be in corporate for the long haul for 30, 40 plus more years, and you want to kind of buy your time back in such a capitalistic society, you want the ability to explore talent, travel, spend time with family, rental properties, buying them gives you the ability to do that. And the reason I call you a side hustle boss is you might not see yourself like buying a home in the very near future. But here's the thing, you thought about an idea, you tested it out, you brought it to life, and you might be having a side hustle. Therefore, I want you to think about buying this home also as a business decision. Okay? Because now when it's a business decision, you just got to think about, what do I need to do to put in place in order for me to be prepared to make that business decision? Is your credit together? Have you been saving? Have you been at the job for 2 years? You might be cutting it close and getting ready to buy that first home. And because it's a business decision now, we have to make moves that the business is able to take care of us, that the business is able to provide us certain needs that allows us to have a certain lifestyle that we desire for ourselves. This path is honestly the only way I would advocate if you were in a position to buy a rental property than to stay renting. Because tapping into an opportunity like owning rental property, something that has been there for generations and will continue continue to be there allows for you to tap into an opportunity to build wealth for yourself, to start building something small that you have a foundation to lean on. Whether you were to lose your job tomorrow, whether you want to take a break, whether you want to take a mental health break for half a year, you have rental income coming in. You see, even in this high interest rate market, it still can be valuable for you to buy that residential multifamily than to rent. But here's the thing, you might have to move. I know, but it's not forever. It's really not. I was actually just speaking to my sister the other day and I said, sis, I might be going back to DC and get myself a cute little apartment. And guess what? My rents are able to pay for that and still give me the room to do what I desire and be out here sitting and talking to you too, okay? But yeah, you gotta be willing to move, to build the dream of the life that you desire for yourself. You can't be shackled into a community that is not fruiting the dreams and the desires that you have for yourself. When you buy a residential multifamily unit, the bank actually adds in the rents. They calculate what the average rents are. So the rents that you will be getting from, let's say if you bought a 4-door, the rents that you'll be getting for from the other 3, they actually add that as income into your calculation. And so that actually helps to give room for the amount of money that they can lend to you, typically a bit higher than if you were to buy a single family home. The reality of buying a home, buying a rental property, it's not easy. But what will be harder for me is to continue to fight a battle that it was never set up for me to succeed in the first place. That to me is hard. Therefore, I would take this challenge of figuring out how to build a foundation with real estate investing that allows me that freedom of time to choose a job, to leave a job when it's to my detriment, or to find the right role in the right company that actually champions my expertise, my experience, and my growth. So yeah, it's not easy. You're dealing with maintenance, you're dealing with tenants. Whew, let me tell you, I'm at that point with my portfolio where I've gone through like the first phase of tenants because, oh, your sister did not know. She did not know that there were expert tenants out here who will rock your mind, will rock your brain, and almost make you go crazy. But that's okay. It's okay. I learned now. The rules are in place for a reason. And guess what? My portfolio is much more calm, much more stable. And because of the size of my portfolio, I can actually hire somebody on board to help with management on the day-to-day. So yes, it is challenging from the beginning, but once things are stabilized now, once I'm able to hire someone on board, what do we call these nowadays? Passive income. Don't get me started. We're gonna do another video about that, but nothing is ever really passive. So this is why when you're ready to buy that first home, it's not about following the Joneses. They bought a beautiful new build. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because even with a new build, most people don't realize that your payment on that mortgage is going to increase the second year. Because, for instance, the builder could have had tax credits in the first year. You come in, you're not aware of this, you get a great deal. The second year, things kind of stabilize, taxes kick in. It's way beyond what you have in escrow. Honey, that's more money out of your job. Are you getting a second job? Are you making sure you're not getting fired? You're putting yourself in a much more bigger liability. Yes, there's benefits in buying a single family home, but I'm telling you, if you're somebody that you've had to build your foundational finances from scratch like I have, you want to make sure that the experience of not having, the experience of jeopardizing what you've built is not just going to, you're not just going to lose it. And that comes from securing your foundation. That comes from leveraging what's been there, like real estate investing, in a smart way, in a slow way, to be able to build your financial foundation that gives you the time freedom to explore you. Because honey, you need to travel a little bit. You know, you need to enjoy life a little bit. Hello? Okay. Now, what some folks will do is buy the single family home and house hack, which is basically renting out rooms in the house for individuals. But I'm pretty sure we've all had traumatic roommate experiences, and at our big age, we just want our own private space. That is why if you have the funding that is given to you to buy a first home, you should consider, if the numbers are not making sense where you are, be open to moving and building the foundation so that now you have the flexibility to come back in the future if you have to. Now, I've talked to you about some of the benefits of going into real estate investing. Yes, you have the cash flow that cuts down your mortgage, so you basically practically, hopefully, living for free, but tax benefits are pretty dope. You see, with the number of properties that I have in my portfolio, it's going to take many, many years for me to actually leverage all the tax benefits with the amount of money I've put into renovations, with the depreciation that I capture on the house every year. Your tax person is going to take care of all that. The point is, imagine if I still had a full-time job. So think about this. If you had a full-time job and then you had this rental property that is bringing in income, you're able to account for some of those expenses, the depreciation on the house, to counter your tax liability on the income that you have full time. So at the end of the year, let's say you worked and you received $100K from your company. Because of the expenses and the depreciation on the house, you're only actually going to be billed on a tax income on a much lower level. It will look like you had a job that only paid you, let's say, $60K, but in actuality, you had earned income far above that because you're leveraging the tax benefits from the property to be able to reduce your tax liability. Let's look into getting your first rental property. Now, let's say you've been collecting rent for a couple of years. The interest rate has dropped because the same way interest rate goes up, interest rate drops. And sis, do not wait for the interest rate to drop before you jump into the market. Because guess what? A million other people are going to be jumping into the market. House prices are going to continue to act crazy. You just have to find the right deal with your own numbers, okay? Even with me investing in a large portfolio, I always look at it from a local numbers level. I don't conceptualize numbers and estimate things out of craziness. I look at it based on what I know in my market, understanding the parameters of my market, making sure my numbers make sense before I make a business decision. We're setting ourselves. I get so excited when I talk about building security for ourselves because it is something that we've had to figure it out. Therefore, let's take advantage of it now. Now that we've got good jobs, we've got good degrees, let's leverage that to build that foundation so that we can start enjoying life. What is life without enjoyment? So sis, if we're talking buying a rental property, I am all in for buying versus that of renting. Is your credit good? How's your credit? We got to do a credit video. Okay, I got you. Have you had the job for 2 years? You do? Good. Keep it. You might not like the job, but keep it, honey. We're going to use it because it's been using us, okay? Now, have you been saving? No? Okay. Well, let's look for programs locally that can also help with some down payment assistance. But let's start saving. And check out my video that I broke down how I basically went from $0 in building my savings account to $100,000 in a very short time frame. Because sis, we need to start saving. So yeah, sis, I think you might be ready to buy your first rental property. So tell me in the comments, what else you'd like to know about buying your first rental property and making more money in this economy? Because, it's needed. Thank you for watching, enjoying this growing community. I'll see you in the next video.